In the beginning of 2020, I was working on my first comic, Slice of Roommates, while juggling in between a day job. Working on both these things all together became very stressful, so I needed a new creative outlet that is chill and cozy and doesn't take too much of my time. I picked up a sketchbook and I started drawing characters for fun and didn't realize it could be a potential new comic yet. And lo and behold, Dear Alice was born. For those of you who haven't heard of the comic yet, the comic genre is basically drama / slice of life, and the story is about a girl named Alice who one day mysteriously drops out of school and pretty much went reclusive. Her friend Lucky starts writing letters to her, and the whole story is about the letters they write to each other, the weekly back and forth, and pretty much just a glimpse into their lives. One day I read Oyasumi Punpun and I was forever scarred by the manga. It's depressing, but despite that, I recommend everyone to go check the comic out. The manga has some really insane art and a really solid storyline. What inspired the design of Lucky was pretty much the main character in the manga, where he kinda looks like a very cute bird sometimes, but also a demon in other times. It definitely inspired the initial design I had for Lucky, which was very edgy, but then I decided to make him cuter and fluffier. Alice is inspired, of course, by Alice in Wonderland, but I made her a goth e-girl. I think a fan favorite character has always been Thackeray, which is based on this rabbit hair called Thatchery, even though he only has like I think 3 lines in the entire comic. We also have the cat Cheshire, which is based on the very purple stripy cat in Alice in Wonderland, which I was actually really afraid of as a kid. He doesn't have much to do, he just provides existence and moral support in every panel. But you know what, sometimes the quiet ones, they speak the loudest. Doc, which a lot of people actually had trouble figuring out what character he is based off on in Alice in Wonderland. Some people thought he was the caterpillar and whatnot. Doc is chill, Doc is cool. He is mad in his own way, and he's always there just to remind us the mortality rate of Alice, pretty much. Good vibes though, good vibes. Red is inspired by the Red Queen, of course, and Mirana is inspired by the White Queen. Red is Lucky's crush in the comic. Lucky is basically stupid in love. As for Mirana, she is the best friend of Alice pretty much. In my story, they haven't become the queens of their kingdoms yet, okay? They're pretty much like high school princess, sweet 15, kinda all that. They're on their way. There are more characters in the comic, but that's for you to find out and decide who they are based on. Anyway, I love all my characters, and honestly, I don't think I would change anything about them. The comic had a soft launch on Webtoon and Tapas. I was redirecting my audience from Slice of Roommates to the comic. Also, Dear Alice was the first comic format that I experimented on as more of a social media comic than a Webtoon comic. I've made a video about the difference between these two. If my medium is Instagram, I am only allowed to have 10 panels per episode, and it needs to fit within that guideline. All I had to do after drawing these panels was to just make it in a Webtoon format for Webtoon or Tapas. In a weird way, this restriction has also helped me summarize the comic better. I ended up having a faster turnaround compared to Roommates. Roommates used to take me, I guess, 2 to 3 weeks for an episode, while Dear Alice, I could easily turn it out in a week. There are some weeks where I feel unmotivated and I would feel like giving up on working on it, but I'm always reminded that it's literally only just 10 panels or even less sometimes, and I can definitely do this. My first big break from the comic was when Tapas featured me in New and Noteworthy. I think I gained about at least 100 subscribers. Tapas continued to feature me again in the front page banner of the website. It was also really cool to be featured in an article called The Indies Comic Flyer. Also, I translate the comic to Chinese. In the Chinese webtoon website, the comic managed to reach 700 subscribers. Out of all these achievements, one thing I would never see myself be able to do was to actually go on a podcast. Being on the Pixels and Panels podcast was a really cool experience, and the people there are really cool. It was definitely one of my bucket list goals in life, and yeah, I'm just really grateful for the experience. The comic finally capped at 1.2k on Webtoons and 1.8k subscribers on Tapas. And funnily enough, it has the same cap as Roommates on Tapas. I was posting this comic on 4 separate platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Webtoon, Tapas. The comic really grew my Instagram account. Granted, I had help with Instagram ads. I ran 2 ad campaigns on the first episode of Dear Alice, and I thought the ads worked well for me. I was just glad most of the people who liked reading it that came from the ads, they aren't bots, like they're real people. Eventually, I also thought about ending the comic. People asked me why not just prolong it. It seems to be doing well. It has a constant viewership. I could have continued this, but I really don't particularly like when a series is dragged on for the sake of being dragged on. I also don't want it to get to a point where it becomes stale, because sometimes comics just sort of lose their spark by the 100th episode. Anyway, what's next for me? So I'm planning to continue the legacy of Dear Alice by making a physical comic book to go with it. Right now, I am currently just working on revamping episodes so I can make it look nice for the book, you know? Hopefully, the next comic is something a little bit more adult, edgy, and probably horror. Nothing is confirmed yet, but I am looking forward to it. I just want to try other mediums. I want to try other themes. Also, I live stream every Wednesday and Friday. If you want to vibe with other people and we can like draw comics or draw our art together on live stream, it's pretty chill, it's pretty fun there. Dear Alice has been an incredible journey for me. I want to thank myself for showing up to the goddamn drawing tablet to draw, I guess. And I want to thank everyone for reading the comic if you did. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I really want to thank my Patreons for the support. Your constant pledge has been the biggest reason I was able to complete this comic. Also, to the people on Tapas that have donated their inks, their lovely inks to me all this time, all these years of working on the comic. Your supports have always been greatly appreciated, and I'm just really happy that people seem to really like the comic characters as much as I do. And if you haven't read it, give it a try, check it out. Let me know if you like it, if you hate it, you know, leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to support me on Ko-fi. You can make one-time donations if you would like, and I also have shop on Ko-fi. where I sell stuff like brushes and designs and just merch in general. I also have Patreon if you would like to keep up to date on what I am working on. I will see you in the next video, and hopefully by then I will be out of my existential crisis. Goodbye.